As I walked off of the bus for my first day of high school, I remember inquiring to my older brother about the person I had seen raising the flag on our school's flagpole. He replied to me, "That's Mr. Bittinger. Every day he's been a teacher. He's come out at 7:15 in the morning to raise the flag in front of Davidson." Although I was quite impressed by his alleged discipline, I have to admit I didn't completely believe my brother at the time. However, as the days passed, I remember constantly looking over my shoulder as I entered my school to make sure he was still there. Lo and behold, whether there was rain, sleet, snow, or wind, he was there as always, raising the flag. Fast forward to my sophomore year, I walked into my APUS history classroom to find out that the man I had seen raising the flag so devotedly the year before was my teacher. Given that his ritual flag raising had been such an integral part of my morning as a freshman, I felt like I had already known him for a really long time, so I naturally felt comfortable enough to express my apprehension towards taking his class. I explained to him that I considered myself a really patriotic person, and I didn't want to learn about the mistakes that America had made because I didn't want it to tarnish my image of America. And he just smiled and replied to me, "Well, I'm a history teacher. Are you saying that I don't love America?" George Bernard Shaw wrote that patriotism is the belief that your country is superior to all other countries because you were born in it. As strange as that may sound, if we take a moment to reflect on who the most patriotic person we know is, most likely they won't necessarily be the person who knows the most about our nation's history or the person who served our country the most, but it'll be the person who chants USA the loudest while watching the Olympic Games, or even the person who boos Russia the loudest. As we progressed through the course, I began to redefine what it meant to love my country. I saw Mr. Bittinger, whose voice shook while telling the end of the American Revolution, whose eyes welled with tears while explaining the origins of our country's national anthem, and who explained with this indescribable pride the feeling that he felt when he first heard the chanting of USA after witnessing the Miracle on Ice in 1980. For those of you who are my age, it was the U.S. victory of the national hockey team over the frontrunners, the Soviet Union, for the gold medal. Mind you, not only had he taught these lessons earlier that day, but also in previous years. Yet his conviction was so strong that regardless of the number of times he had given the same lectures, he delivered each with so much enthusiasm you'd think it was his first time ever delivering it. From Mr. Bittinger's example, I learned that along with loving one's country, a person serves his or her country in big and small ways. A patriot seeks to understand past and present events and envisions a future of love and responsibility fostered amongst their peers. I knew then and there that a patriotism that blinds you beyond realism couldn't be the truth. After my year with Mr. Bittinger, I have come to believe that true patriotism causes a person to recognize and try to address the shortcomings of a country, and not simply to take pride in their country's strengths. After that year, I found that vision and responsibility is the true marking point of a person who loves their country. As per the four-way test, this perspective on patriotism is fair because it puts all of us on a level playing field, defining your patriotism not by the origins of your ancestors or the capacity of your lungs, but by your willingness to explore, to learn, and to be inspired. This exploration and education will in turn build goodwill and better friendships by building a beautiful and diverse common background between fellow Americans, creating an environment of intelligent and understanding unity between people. It is for this reason that I encourage myself and the rest of you to discover the origins of the beautiful gifts that are the cherry blossom trees in Washington, D.C. I encourage you to read about whether or not the 50s were really as comfortable and simple for all types of people as is portrayed in our history books. I encourage you to read the early works of our founding fathers, in which perceived radicals such as Thomas Jefferson espouse their idea that all men are created equal and are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, among these life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. The people our founding fathers fought for are here with us today. They are every single person in this room, including me. These ideas were not always popular, let alone an entitlement, yet they were written for us and dedicated to us by people who lived years and years ago and had never even met us. For our beautiful country. It is for this reason that I remind myself to reflect on these words that were meant for us. That when you hear descriptions of beautiful for spacious skies, amber waves of grain, purple mountains' majesties, it's talking about our country. The descriptions of crowning thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea, a government, the land of the free and the home of the brave, and the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. How can patriotism be anything but good for all concerned?